Welcome back to Conversations with Gramami. Today we're diving into the heart of competition, resilience, and gratitude, with a remarkable story straight out of the Judo Veterans World Championships 2024 in Las Vegas, Nevada. This past week, several Canadian athletes showcased their skills and strength on the international stage, bringing home a total of 14 medals in the veteran category. One of these outstanding medalists is Saskatchewan's own Michael Yee, who clinched the bronze medal in the under 66 kilograms M4 division. Michael earned this victory through relentless attacks, securing 3 wins via juji gatame, and finishing one match with a powerful throw for ippon. And here's where it gets even more inspiring. Michael has only been training in judo for about 3 years. But he's no stranger to the mats. He's a former competitive wrestler and also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Beyond the medals and matches, Michael shared something heartfelt on Instagram after his win. He wrote, quote, "My heart is full. I got third at my first international competition, Veterans World Championships. Appreciate everyone who helped along the way, from training partners to students helping out with teaching, so I can train more." Perspective. I heard a saying that there will be a time when you will go outside for the last time to play with your friends, and you will not know it till it's over. I may never compete in another world championship. Instead of having anxiety for fighting in such a big event, I try to live in the moment. I appreciate the blessing of having the health and skill to be here. That was my perspective. Gratitude. You cannot be both grateful and have expectations. I did not expect to medal and only wanted to compete to the best of my abilities. I am grateful to podium. In the past, my expectations have killed joy when there are so many blessings. Showing gratitude has opened my heart to all gifts, great and small. Through all my training, there have always been people more talented, stronger, faster, etc. My talent is hard work, faith, and kindness. These are things everyone can do. Sorry for the long speech. Unquote. Those words truly resonate. And now let's jump into the interview with Michael.
So, Michael, I was just, before I hit record, I was just congratulating you on your amazing performance in Vegas at the World Championships Veterans 2024. You made the podium. You captured a bronze medal. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to hearing about your overall thoughts in terms of each of the matches you had. You had 5 matches in total, and also just to gain some insight on your story in the sport of judo and your overall experience there. So let's dive into it. Your first match was against a Frenchman named Ronnie Hougon-Janine. Can you tell us a bit about this match?
Yeah, so my coach didn't let me know, but apparently he was a 2-time world champion. And yeah, and I was quite nervous going into it. This is my first international competition. And it was a hard-fought fight. We went 4 minutes into golden score. And I just remember having a very, very hard fight and being very, very tired going 4 minutes into golden score. But I just kept pushing myself. And he went for a Yoko Tomanagi. And I found an opening in which to, I believe, pass after his failed throw, and ended up in armbar position. But it was a very weird situation because I think because he's such a seasoned judoka, he was he let out a scream, but then he stopped screaming. I believe is that he was trying to play a gamesmanship in which he wanted me to let off on the juji, but not scream so long as to get the referee to call mate. But I've been around a little bit, so I understand some of these gamesmanship that people can play, and then I remember having the juji, but not really tight because I had my leg over the shoulder, and then when I brought it over the head, I was luckily enough to finish the juji for ippon.
Very, very interesting that that backstory there and your assessment of it all. First off, I must say your coach did the right thing by not telling you that this individual was a former world champion. You said.
He was a two-time world champion. Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
Who's
yeah.
your
So
coach? Who's your coach?
Josh Hagan.
Oh yes, we know Josh, of course. He was the voice of CBC over at CBC Sports for Judo at Paris 2024. But that's an excellent move by your coach to not tell you because, as you mentioned, you were feeling a tad nervous going into it, and you beat him. And it's interesting that this individual was playing mind games with you, as you described it,
Yeah.
gamesmanship. But you beat him in a decisive fashion and. A very dramatic finish for those who've seen the clip on social media. They don't know what I mean. And from there, you go on to compete against a Mongolian named Chinsorig Sonom Dagavna. What? Let me repeat that. Chinsorig Sonom Dagava. Lead us through this match, please.
So this is to get out of the group stages. Yeah, I didn't know that. I think my group was a group of death. Having a world champion and a two-time world champion both in the same pool.
Wow.
And then being my first international competition, yeah, it was a very good match. The Mongolian was very very strong, and he's also been around for a very long time. He actually does Grand Prix in Europe and all that, so he has a lot of experience. And even though I didn't win the match, I thought I did very well. Um,
I
I
believe
got
you almost caught him with an armbar earlier on, right? Early in the
Yep.
match.
Yeah, I had I believe at least two chances of doing the Juji Katami on
Mhm.
him, and I also attempted a few throws. So for me, being so new to judo, that is all I can ask is those chances and just getting those looks and seeing the defense for the armbar is at such a high level is something I can take back with me and work on, right? But unfortunately, I didn't get the win. He has a very good Ippon Seonegi threat to Osoto, and he hit it on me, and I reacted wrong because I thought it was a Seo, and it turned into a Osoto, which is one of his best tricks, and he got a Wazari, and then he was able to flip me over for a pin. I thought I can't remember why, but I stopped fighting for inside position for my arm, and then but when he flipped me over, he was very very strong competitor, and the pin was very strong. So yeah, hats off to him. That was a very good win for him, but also I believe with such limited experience on my part, I got something out of it. I didn't just get ran over.
For sure. And I mean, as you describe him, he is strong, and you could see in the video that in some exchanges you could see, he was certainly dominant in terms of strength and experience as you described it. Can you give us a brief background, but before we proceed with the next matches, your history in judo and other grappling sports and all that? If you can give us kind of a brief overview, so we know where you're coming from when you say I'm fairly new to judo, and this is my first ever international uh, tournament at the World Championships.
So I would say I've been doing judo for 3 years and about a couple months. So um, I don't have a lot of experience in judo, but I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. Um, I run a couple schools in Regina for jiu-jitsu. One is my main school, and the other one is for more like beginner classes. Um, and I also used to be the assistant coach for the University of Regina wrestling team. So I have a lot of grappling experience, um, in one way or another. But for judo, the game is so deep and different. I still feel like a beginner.
Really interesting. I'm curious to know Why did you transition into competitive judo? Considering, you as you mentioned, you have a background in wrestling as well as jiu-jitsu. What motivated you to challenge yourself in this respectively different sport? Obviously, it's still a grappling sport, but the rules are different, the approach is different, and so on. What prompted that, if you don't mind me
Well,
asking?
well, actually, judo was like my first sport. Um, I did it for about 6 months when I was a kid. But the thing is, I never had the opportunity to go back into it because I was like working, going to university, doing other stuff. Um, and when I was in Regina for work, I live here now. When I first came to Regina, I thought that the only place that they had judo was in Pence. So in my heart, I always loved judo. It's just that I never had the opportunity to practice it or participate in it. And what happened was I found out that there was a judo school in Regina. I'm like, oh man, I think I might want to try this because what happened was during the pandemic, um, we couldn't practice or do anything. And on top of that, um, the University of Regina disbanded the wrestling team. So
Wow.
I no longer
Wow.
had, yeah, I no longer had the ability to wrestle, but I had my jujitsu, which was good. Um, but then I wanted to try something else. And then when I talked to this person talking about how the lockdown is over and they're lifting all this ban and judo's he's going back to judo and I'm like, yeah, in Pence. He's like, no, in Regina. I'm like, what? There's judo in Regina. I should have just Googled it. But yeah, that's how I came back to judo. I actually, in my heart, I always loved judo, even though I only did it for like 6 months as a kid. And this is like 1997. I did judo for 6 months.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, so 20 something years ago. But in my heart, I always loved judo. And then when I went back to judo, I wanted to do it as a supplement for wrestling, and because there was no more wrestling for me, so I wanted to do something to occupy that time. And also, I thought that maybe in the future I might want to compete in jujitsu, and I thought that having a little bit of judo would also help. So there's a lot of reasons why I started doing judo. But when I did judo, I did it very relaxed. I didn't ever thought I was going to compete in judo. I thought it was just going to be something that I did on the side and love. But actually, one of my sensei who passed away a while ago, he um, he was the one who encouraged me to compete. He says, "You're good enough to compete. You should try." And then when I did my first competition, I um, I won 3 gold medals,
Wow.
and so I'm like, okay, so maybe this is good. And then after about a year and a half, I talked to my sensei, and I kind of asked him if I could get my brown belt because I thought that it was like with all my grappling experience and wrestling and jujitsu that it would be unfair for me to compete anymore in the novice division.
Interesting.
Um, so then I started doing when I got my brown belt from he agreed and gave me my brown belt. I started competing in the advanced division, which was like a learning curve. It's been a very hard learning curve. I feel like I maybe if I took the novice route, I would have had more wins. My ego was up, but definitely going the route of the black belt division, it is it's been tough. But actually, if you have a few minutes, I can tell you a story. The reason why
Please,
I
please
chose.
do tell us.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
okay. So I watched this one documentary on this one game called Smash Brothers, and there was one person. He lived in an area where there's a lot of people who would play this game. They would go to this house on the weekend and would play. But the thing is, when he would play this game, because he was so new at it, nobody would take him seriously. So what he did was he would go do something called money match. So he would put $5 down, and he knew he would lose the $5. But when he did a money match with all these guys who are actually world class, he got to see the best of them. He got to see how they would just beat him, and they would use all the best techniques. And then over time, he became a world champion at this game. And for me, when I go to these competitions, especially in advanced seniors division, um, I consider them all money matches. I know I'm going to lose, but they are going to give me the looks. They're going to give me their best looks at the highest level, and I can, as long as I can keep my mind open, I can learn from that. It's going to be a hit on my ego, but in the long run, I will get better faster.
Fascinating stuff, man. This is this. I'm really glad we're having this interview. I wasn't expecting all of this. To be honest, this is a really interesting story. I'm curious. You know, you have a background in wrestling. You competed in the sport. Is that correct?
Yeah, I competed in wrestling. I have a I don't have a lot of results or a lot of competition in wrestling, um, but I do have a bronze and a silver medal in provincials for wrestling. Um,
And from there,
that's
from there you transitioned to a coaching role at the University of Regina. Is that what you were telling us?
that's right. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The 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 I wouldn't say I'm the best wrestler, but I am a very hard worker, and I believe because I don't have talent, the way I do my technique, I have to dumb it down for myself, and I think the coach could see that I can explain techniques to people because I don't have many physical attributes or talents. So whenever I do something good, there's a lot of thinking involved for me to get it correct, and and I think he also saw my dedication, and that's why he designated me the assistant coach for the University of Regina wrestling team.
Really interesting. So you're an analytical thinker. You're a hard worker. You apply yourself, and you're good at communicating the tactics. I'm curious to know. Can you tell us from your experience of being involved in all three grappling sports? That's judo, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling. In your opinion, which one of these do you find more challenging for you overall? I know you've done these sports at different times of your life, and you competed them at different times of your life. But as when you look back now, which one of these sports has challenged you the most, would you say?
I would say that at this moment in time, that the most challenging one is judo. But that being said, I have a lot of pedigree in wrestling and jujitsu that I can rely on, and still, I still think that it's judo. Judo is unforgiving. The thing with wrestling is that if you make a mistake in wrestling, you can come back from it. You make a mistake in jujitsu, you can come back from it. They're point based, um, and the way that the game's set up is you're able to come back and win. But with judo, if you make a mistake, it's over. So you cannot make mistakes in judo, and I find that very very difficult. Coming from a wrestling background and a jiu-jitsu background where the matches are longer, they give you a lot of time to if you make a mistake, come back, and you can come back from a deficit and win. But that's not the case with judo.
Very interesting, Michael. I think we could probably stick on this topic for another 20 minutes, but I think we'll because it's really pardon me, it's really interesting, and I know that a lot of folks are have the same sort of story you have in terms of coming back into this sport. I'm speaking of the sport of judo from jujitsu or wrestling, and for various reasons. But it's interesting that your story consists of like not just going back into the sport, but actually competing at the Veterans World Championships. Which is a big move. So we'll go back to your matches where, speaking of unforgiving, you had lost against the Mongolian, and then now you were in the Repêchage match against a Brazilian named Jose Jr. Speak to us
Yes.
about this next match, and also tell us your mindset going into this match after having lost to the Mongolian. By the way, you did lose to him, but you put up a good fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if you compete again and you come across this guy. I'm sure you're going to, you would have a game plan for him, considering that, he gave you those looks, and you took the opportunities. But anyways, let's talk about the Brazilian, your mindset going into it, and how you won this match.
Okay, so for the Brazilian, actually after the Mongolian, my mindset switched, and I had that moment of clarity about perspective, in which that I may never be here again. Who knows? Like the future holds no promises for you. You could have an injury or anything, sickness or whatnot. So the future holds no promises. You can't rely on that. At this very moment, it is a beautiful day. Win or lose, I get the opportunity to compete, and that's how I felt at that moment. And my coach even saw that when I was fighting him, I was much lighter and more reactive, because I didn't have the tension in my mind or my muscle, and I was able to flow and see things better. It was I would say the weirdest match of the day. The Brazilian Jose, um, I don't know if he did it intentionally or not, but he did not show up in the judoki part where you do the check, um, and then you have to sit in the chute before you go on the mat. So there was a few times where he almost missed the competition, in which he would have got a 30-second warning, where you have to prepare, because he came in so late. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but I would suspect that if it was somebody else, and if they're not so seasoned, they would have had that moment of relief, and maybe they would have got a walkthrough, sense of like that they're going to get a walkthrough, and then he shows up late, and then you're not prepared to fight. But for me, I was warming up and preparing to have a fight the whole time, and I was kept saying the thing about gratitude, being grateful to have the health and the ability to compete, and that perspective of this is maybe my last match, because if I lose this match, I it's over for me, and I should just enjoy this time, because I don't know if we're ever going to be here again. I would say the match with Jose was good. I don't feel he put me in any dangerous situations. He did do some sneaky stuff, like I grabbed his wrist one time, and then he kept trying to give me his wrist to grab, not his sleeve, to get another Shido.
Right.
Yeah. And but I think there was like 20 seconds left, and I threw him, and I remember, because he I believe he was just posting on my right shoulder, and I was able to work through that post, and I threw him pretty hard, because I saw him spinning.
Michael, I'm curious, when you speak about switching that mindset, because I must say, I'll just take a quick step back, and I'll say, when I read your caption and you spoke about gratitude and being thankful for being there, this could be your last tournament, and seizing the moment while enjoying it, having that really a level of real maturity, gratitude, and a sense of like a care for the moment, like enjoying the moment, understanding that it's very competitive, but you're gonna take it all in and make the best of it. I remember reading that caption, and I was like, man, I have to interview you because of this caption. And obviously your fights and your finish finishes. For the record, I did interview you months ago where I met you in Montreal. I believe you
Yes.
won the Niwaza competition, and I got to know a bit of your story. But I hadn't seen you compete until this event here, and I knew when your name was on the list. I was like, okay, I gotta watch this guy fight because I know on the ground, and it's not to take away from your Tachiwaza, of course, but I know that on as far as Ninewaza, you're gonna be a hell of a nightmare, and you certainly were, as we will discuss and we'll go through your other matches because you beat your opponents. You threw this guy, the Brazilian, but as far as the rest, except for the Mongolian, you showcased a very dominant groundwork and a spectacular finish. But more importantly, what I want to know, and I think what people may want to know as well, is how did you switch that mindset? What prompted that switch? Was it, and I know it's a personal question. We don't have to go there, but if it's too personal, whatever. But like, help us understand how you kind of, after a loss, kind of reframed your entire perspective because it's a level of it's a certain mindset that many might not even have. It's a level of maturity and a certain reverence that is really spectacular. If you don't mind, can you
Thank
break
you.
that down?
Okay, so I haven't told anybody this, but I'm gonna take you back about it's about a month ago. So there was the Toronto Open. Then there was the Winnipeg Open a week after, and then there was about a week and a few days before Vegas Worlds. Um, 2 days before I had to cut weight for the Toronto Open, um, my mom got diagnosed with brain cancer.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, she had the tumor removed, and she is currently doing chemo right now, and doing really well, thank God.
Thank
Um,
goodness.
for me, there was a lot of aspects over this 3 weeks I had to deal with. I had to get down to 145 pounds, and I started at 168 pounds, so that's over 10 kilos I had to cut. Um, and then competing and traveling, I felt also very, very guilty, um, because I'm not with my mom in her time of need, right? I was FaceTime her all the time, talking to her. Everything happened so quick. Even if I wanted to go to her, she lives in Calgary. By the time they diagnosed her and they got her in MRI surgery, it was like over. And then she um, obviously got the tumor removed and everything. And
Wow.
there was a lot of risk involved in me cutting weight. Um, 8 kilos every week to compete and I competed in Niwaza veterans and seniors. So there's a lot of categories I competed in. So there's a lot of risk for injuries before Worlds. But I thought that if I could get through all those six competitions, get my weight cuts down, um, I would be better for veterans. I would be sharp for veterans. I only won 2 matches in the senior division in Toronto, and I only won 1 match in the senior division in Winnipeg. So I wasn't getting like good results. That and then going to Vegas, getting these results. But thinking about that perspective of like life is so fleeting, like this is nothing, like competing at Worlds right now is nothing compared to what my mom went through.
Mm.
Like that's my perspective. That's a perspective that I didn't write down in my post, but truly that was the reason why I was able to get rid of the anxiety, because none of this is that important, and I need to enjoy the moment, um and showing gratitude for my life, for my health. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. I thank you very much for sharing that. I realize I this is very personal, and I think we're all happy to hear that that your mom is doing well as you described. And I know for my own personal experience, my mom as well is going through a health issue currently, and it's been it's just been about a month now. It's been a lot of things are happening, and I, uh, I know what you're saying when you say when you speak of gratitude and that perspective you have, and I think it hit me, uh, personally when I read it, but I had no clue that the context was also similar. So thank you very much for giving us context to how you were able to reframe your thinking at that moment, considering what you were experiencing. I know we don't have much time left, but I just want to transition to your next match. You beat Jose Jr., the Brazilian, and now you move on to face Gianni La Picarella from Italy. And yes, lead us through this match here, please. I believe this is another repêchage match and one more match, and you're in for the bronze medal. So lead us through this one, please.
So with Gianni, I saw him compete before because when I won my match against Jose, my coach said, "Hey, take a look at this guy." And then when I watched him, I saw that he likes to do a lot Seo Otoshi and dropping to his knees. And the person he faced, he was able to put him into a lot of juji positions. So when I faced him, I attempted some throws, but I do remember that he made some openings whenever he does that, because the person that he faced in the match before was able to get, I think, like 3 or 4 jujis. He couldn't finish it before Gianni won that match, and I suspected that if he threw a Seo Otoshi and I was ready for it, that I would be able to get the arm. And I saw how he defended it. It was the way that he defended it was he dropped his hip down, and it was something that my coach Josh talked about, and we drilled through, and it just happened to be that exact moment. Perfect moment where he dropped his hip and I recognized it, and I was able to flip him over to his back and finish the juji, and it was something that we worked on um, in the last month or so.
Fascinating. What was the vibe like after this match, knowing you were headed to the bronze medal, considering everything, the last two tournaments, Toronto, Winnipeg, and now Vegas, and now you were essentially headed to the bronze medal match. What was running through your mind, and
It
what
was
was your coach Hagen telling you?
it was surreal for sure. I would say I was already my heart was full. I'm like I already did much better than I ever thought I could do at Worlds. The thing with Josh is he knows what I'm good at, right? He knows that I use my tachiwaza to do big throws, but also I use it to get to the niwaza. For me, having good tachiwaza is also a way to defend them and get it to the niwaza portion of the game. Um, so my heart was full. I was happy, and then my Josh also recognized the last 2 matches how I was so much more relaxed and able to react and see things coming. Um, I believe with Gianni, I was able to. He he only he threw me twice, attempted 2 throws, and on the second attempt, it was over. So at this time, I was like, I feel like nothing can make me sad. I don't care if I win or not. I'm in the bronze medal match, and I'm just going to enjoy it.
Exactly, and you were facing off against a Canadian this time, Jose Machado, who trains out of Kiseki Judo with Ernest Laroque. Had you competed against Jose before, maybe in Montreal?
Yes, I did. He actually beat me in Montreal. He's actually a beautiful human being. He was so nice to me because I was having a problem because I pulled my groin from all the weight cutting, and then he gave me some advice on that, and I followed his advice of getting a PD light. And as soon as I did, my muscle, my pulled groin muscle, relaxed, and I was able to move it better. I'm super friendly with him. But also, I knew that he was gonna be a tough fight because he in the past he has such a good ippon seoinage that he throw and is very very strong. That I knew I had my hands full with him just based on the history in the past. Um, but also again, like I said, typically when you show me something in the past, I can see it and I can try to adapt to it, and that was the case this time as well. Um, with Jose, we both like he's left right-handed. I'm left-handed, but we also um, both like the ippon seoinage, so we always trying to get the collar grip over top of the shoulder. So if you saw the match, we were both doing kumikata over and over again, where we're trying to get the overhand, because if your hand is underneath the collar grip, it gets trapped. When you do an ippon seoinage, much better than if it's over top. But I was able to defend his throw a few times. I think it was three times, and they were very strong throws. Because I knew his game, and then on the third one, I was able to utilize my niwasa skill to finish him.
And you certainly did. And I believe by the end of the match, after you were awarded the victory, you went over and you shook his hand. And I could tell by your body language, you almost felt what was happening there? What emotions were running through?
Well, I my emotion was I felt bad because I felt his arm pop when I
Okay,
was arm barring him before
right.
he tapped, and I wasn't actually thinking about winning or about the win actually in that moment. I was just very concerned for him, and
That's what
I
it
was
looked like. Yeah,
yeah
I hear you, bro. Because I could see that. I could see. I think anyone who watches the clip, you were, you were concerned, obviously, for him and his arm.
yeah.
But I mean, I think it's very obvious that it's not a deliberate thing. It's just this is a competition. It is what it is, and hopefully he's doing well. But more importantly, congratulations to you overall. What has this experience? Just two more questions, if that's okay. I know we're going a bit over, but two more questions. What's the main takeaway for you in terms of this competition? What you learned from it? And yeah, to tell us that, and then I'll ask you the last question, please.
Well, one of the things I would say is that I feel like I have imposter syndrome. And then I don't know if I belong in the division. And I think my after competing at Worlds, I feel like okay, I do belong here. And then eventually, when I do get my black belt, that I will deserve it. It's just something that I felt because I wasn't getting all the results that I wanted in the national level. Like, do I even belong here? And that's what I felt. Is I felt that I'm taken away from me. Is that I do belong here, even though I have very limited judo experience. I know that it's the sky's the limit, and I'm going to get better and I'm going to grow my techniques. I only basically have two techniques that I'm competent in. And like if my tachiwaza gets stronger, I know that I'm going to be dangerous at the national level tournaments, and I just feel like now I belong. That was my takeaway.
Oh hell yeah, you belong, man. You just you got a bronze medal at the Worlds. You more than belong, and more importantly, as you described yourself as hardworking. So you're obviously coachable. You've got such wealth of experience in other adjacent grappling sports and all those those are all assets, and they're very transferable. In addition to being open-minded to learning. I think if we take a step back, and it's interesting that you speak about imposter syndrome, and you're very open like to be very open about that, and like I think obviously the sky's the limit, because you seem like a very transparent person, but also someone who has the formula for success, and quite frankly, anything they apply themselves to. As you mentioned, that I'm not just talking smack here. I'm saying for real. Like, if you're hardworking in anything and you're continuously learning and applying yourself, and you never stop that learning process openly, I think those characteristics, you apply that to anything, and you're bound to win and succeed in very, you know what I mean? Especially if you stay the
Yeah.
course. So congratulations to you. And my question is, will we see you compete again? Because in that caption, you said that, this could be your last
Yeah.
tournament at the Worlds. You're fighting in the M4, which is very young, considering there's M8
Ah,
is the last division, right? I
yeah.
believe that's 70 and up. But will we see you? I'm hoping we get to see you, but I'm asking, will we see you compete again?
Yeah, so the way I wrote that is more of about the future holds no promises. You never
Right,
know
right.
what the future holds. I am going to continue to compete and try to do the best I can and learn and improve. More than results, just improve. I know I said my talent was hard work, um, and having faith and being kind,
Right.
and that's, to me, the most important one actually is being kind, because kindness is humility. Kindness is taking care of your partners. There's so many aspects of being kind, but the thing is, what allows me to get better at anything is that the people who have the knowledge is willing to transfer that knowledge to you, and they may or may not do it consciously. Nobody wants to do that to somebody who's a jerk, who has
Right.
bad temper. Um, so that is one thing that has gotten me a long way. Uh, People are willing to help me out and teach me stuff and allow me to learn and grow. And it's because I'm being kind, like humble is being kind, having respect for people is being kind. So that has been as important as being hardworking and having faith. I think those three things are like a triangle. You cannot be hardworking if you have no faith in
Mm,
what you're doing is correct, right? If you're not have humility or kindness, how can you work hard, right? You if you think you know everything, do you know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, thank you very much for this incredible interview. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your openness and your willingness to share all of this. And we look forward to seeing you compete again. Is there any last words you want to share? Your gyms, if you want to plug your gyms or anything like that, please go ahead. Or if you want to give a
Yeah.
shout out to anyone.
I would like to thank my provincial coach Josh Hagan, my sensei from my club, Sensei Rob, Sensei Jack, Sensei Max, and then all my training partners, be it through judo for the provincial training, my local club I train at, or even jiu-jitsu clubs where I train at, and then my students helping out and teaching classes while I'm away. Like, I would like to thank everybody that has touched me and helped me out in any manner, to achieve this podium at Worlds.
Michael, thank you again, and all the best.
Thank you.